Alright, so you might be reading the title and wondering, so K.infinite's doing this. Alright, we're doing What If Deku Was a Villain? And I'm gonna do it in a different way. He ain't gonna join the League of Villains. You hear me right? Like, he's gonna run into them, and he's not particularly gonna fight them or anything, but I'm gonna add stuff and circumstances. And in this one, he's gonna have a sister. Yeah, I know, in the actual story he doesn't, but for this to work, he's gonna have to have one. So, yeah. And if you look on the screen, something will influence Deku to go down the villain path. Instead of, him just becoming it because so-and-so circumstances, killing himself or whatever. And I'll try to make this entertaining as much as possible. So, well, let's begin. The story begins practically when Midoriya is about to become born. Him and his sister, yes, he has a sister in this timeline, which I chose to give it to him, are twins, so they are the same age. This time around, Asashi Midoriya is around with Inko. Came back early with the milk. But anyway, besides that little joke, they're going home with their sweet, wonderful children. And their life starts out normally at first. All the way up until Deku goes to the quack doctor. But on that day for Deku, it was a tragedy for his family to find out that he was quirkless. He was quirkless. But Azumi Midoriya, on the other hand, had a quirk. It was a combination of her mom's and her dad's, where it allowed her to shoot out fire from, her hands and mouth, but also vice versa with her, her telekinesis in a way, but it allowed her telekinesis to be controlled from her mouth. Yeah, I know, it was kind of weird, but, that's how quirk works, Not 100% perfect. But during this whole thing, Deku was still quirkless. You might be wondering what's going to happen to him. Well, his father, on the other hand, did not like the quirkless. But his mother was the one who always was good to him. So, practically, his father hits him. Anytime when he feels bad, anytime. Because he drinks, so he also hits him with bottles. Since he can't defend himself against this. Against him. Asashi Midoriya. Inko Midoriya does try to stop him from time to time. She usually calms him down every now and then, but it doesn't always work. It sometimes fails, like everything else. But she couldn't really stop him, except for comforting Izuku, or Midoriya, however you want to call him. So, that has been going on for days. And also by this point, Bakugo was bullying him. His sister didn't really stop them at all. But she did talk to Deku, and even called him Deku. When they were at home, she would be all nice to him. But anytime when they were at school, she would bully them just like Bakugo. Until one day where Bakugo takes it a little bit too far. Deku gets hit to the ground. He's like, ugh. Why? Why you... Why are you doing this, Bakugo? I could try at least to be a hero. Bakugo responds with, you quirkless loser. You're never going to be a hero without a quirk. You would probably die in the exams for UA, or even if you were a hero. And he tells the same line. The same line. He tells Deku, if you really want a quirk that bad, take a swan dive off the roof. So, Zumi says, too bad he doesn't fight back. I thought he was really gonna do something. You know? So they leave, and Deku's standing there, thinking of his life, how it went down this way. But he still thought that at least he has his mother, the one who cheered him up after his dad beat him down. He doesn't really know how to think about his sister and all this, you know? Since she's only nice to him when they're at home, but when they're at school, she's mean to him. The same way as Bakugo in some regards, except for physically hurting him, just emotionally. And Deku looks at his own body. He looks at all the scars and burns and like purple parts of the skin. He has been bloodied and bruised by Bakugo for so long. So when he walking home by himself, which Azumi did say at some point that they couldn't walk home together anymore because he was a loser. But in reality, she just didn't want to walk home with him to, you know, her popularity or whatever, if you want to count with that. But anyway, during this, Izuku gets attacked by a familiar looking villain. The sludge villain. He gets attacked. Almost dies. He's coughing up the sludge, thinking that he's about to die. Die for nothing. Die and watch his dreams die with him. Until someone saves him. Not a hero, but someone Izuku just met. His name is Scorch. And he walks up and he says to Izuku, "Child, I am very, very curious about you. I can see that you have been bloodied and bruised. Was this by this villain? Or should I say myself? I feel like we met before. but I am not too sure at all. The whole scheme of things must brought us together. Again, at least. So he picks up Midoriya and he walks away after, just murdering the sludge villain. Barely any effort, even. He just killed him that quickly. Midoriya's in shock, so he doesn't move when he just picks him up. So he takes Midoriya away from the tunnel because he thinks that the boy is maybe in, nervousness of what happened. So he's just moving him away. So after them walking away, Midoriya finally asks him what's his name. And he looks down, not really smiling or anything. But he looks down and, tells him his name. Scorch. And he tells him that I'm here for villainy in a way. Villainy in a way. I don't kill civilians or attack them for no reason. Unlike that guy. He was being unprofessional, in my opinion. But you wouldn't have anything to say about it, right? Kid and Midoriya suddenly starting to feel weird. Like in his head. He's like, yeah, right. You're right. You're right. What's happening to Midoriya? Well, Scorch here. He has a few abilities, since he's a K after all. K Dark, really, but he goes by Scorch. Since he looks like ash after you burn something to a crisp. And he's K Black, so he can do practically whatever he wants. Almost whatever he wants, at least. There is some limits to him. So Scorch looks back at Midoriya and says, so tell me about yourself. And Midoriya's like, yeah, you're right. And so he tells Scorch his life, and Scorch gets mad. Gets mad. Gets angry. He wants to kill them for what he did to this boy. And he doesn't even know why. He just has a feeling that this kid is one of the nicest people. So after carrying Izuku for a while, he has a wicked idea, Scorch, to turn this kid, love-grubbing lover, to a despising, hating hero person who despises heroes and becomes a villain just like himself, since he reminds him of himself when he was weak, when he was disposed. But he does notice one thing different compared to himself and Midoriya, that his mom loves him, even though Scorch never met his mother. He wish he had, so he ain't gonna do anything to Inko, his mom. He may even protect her every now and then. But during that time, they walk past a scene of Izumi running towards this mud-like villain, and it has Bakugo. And she's trying to get him out. Using her fire telekinesis. Just trying to burn it at least off of Bakugo, but she can't until Midoriya jumps out of Scorch's arms and runs towards the villain as well. And Azumi's like, Deku, stay back! And, tries to use her telekinesis on him, but it misses. She missed off point by a few inches. And the only thing that flew off from Midoriya was a piece of his backpack and a few water bottles. So Midoriya does what he kind of does in canon, where he throws his backpack and stuff, and it hits him in the eyes. This, like mud villain, and it just screams in pain, and Midoriya is about to die. But when All Might comes in, he's in short. He's about to make it, but then Scorch arrives instead, killing this villain as well, the Mud Villain. And All Might's like, this is not a hero. I haven't heard of him at all. Even underground heroes either. And he just teleports away. He saves Midoriya and teleports away. That's all he really does, This whole scheme of things, he's not going to really do anything too important yet, But Midoriya still gets scolded and told he would not be alive without that weird stranger coming in and killing this villain. So, in this timeline, All Might's wound doesn't really mess with too much, so he has more time than canon. So, practically, he asks All Might if he can be a hero out of quirk, and All Might destroys his dream. Legitimately, literally says, no, you can't be a hero without a quirk. And this timeline, he doesn't even suggest him for, try to be a police officer, a fighter, or even, do support gear at all. Doesn't even say anything like that. He just says you can't be a hero, kid, without no quirk. So, Deku's dreams are crushed, and he just walks home. Again, since Azumi doesn't walk with him, since, she practically thinks he's a loser, but still, sees him as her brother in some regards, in some weird ways. And All Might doesn't even look for Deku in this timeline. But believe me, Deku will find out about One for All. Because when he gets home, there was some bad news. Inko was hit during a villain attack, and she's in the hospital. The one person that Midoriya believed in him, knows that she thought he could become a good person, thought that he could become more, whatever his goals were, whatever Midoriya chose what to do, she always believed he could do it. Because in this timeline, I gave her more motherly stuff, so, But yeah, she believed in him, she believed in him more in this timeline. But she was hurt in the attack, and she's in a coma. She will probably not wake up, or may wake up. So, when Midoriya is just at home one day and he's practically depressed, he's depressed because his mother is in the hospital in a coma, and he's not gonna know if she's gonna wake up or not, you know? So he hears a voice in his head saying, "Go to Dagobah Beach." So he gets up, puts his clothes to go outside or whatever, and he goes to that beach for some reason. He just feels the sudden urge he needs to, and he gets there, and he sees his sister with All Might. He overhears their conversation. He's like, "Young Azumi, if you're going to inherit my quirk, you need to, blah blah blah." Practically, it's the same in canon, just replace Izuku with Izumi. And less nervous. Because, she's not like Izuku. She ain't gonna be that nervous. It's all the same. Just get rid of the nervousness and replace Izuku. Or Midoriya, however you want to say it. So, practically after that, Midoriya gets angry. Gets mad. He thinks, why is she getting the quirk? That's unfair. Because he heard everything. He heard everything. Even the fact that All Might used to be quirkless, just like himself. Just like Izuku. He knows how pathetic and how a hypocrite he is. So he's getting mad. Oh, until when he leaves Dagobah Beach and he hears something so familiar. A familiar voice. It's Scorch. He says, "So you see the truth of your heroes, young Izuku Midoriya? Or should I give you the nickname that your friends, or ex-friends, should I really say, and sister, called you Deku?" And Midoriya just gets mad. And he says, "Well, you could get revenge. You could do whatever you want. You could do anything if you agree to what I'm doing." And Midoriya's head gets all weird, and he's like, "You're right. You're right." And Midoriya thinks in his head, he's like, this whole system's corrupt. No one is really being a real hero now. And if I can't be a hero, and this is somewhat Scorch's influence. And he says, Scorch says, "Then become a villain. Think about it. If you could become a villain and do it, you could change everything. Change this whole society. Make it so the quirkless can actually do it." And Midoriya's like, yeah, you're right. You're right. I agree. So, during that, Midoriya somewhat is starting to get more and more corrupted. So Scorch tells him, "Meet me at this junkyard." And Midoriya's like, "Yeah, sure. Whatever you want, boss." And Scorch kind of takes it aback that Midoriya called him boss. It's kind of adorable to him. To Scorch. So, Midoriya, after that day, has been visiting Scorch at this junkyard, and they weren't doing anything boring. It was like the training for UA, but different, kind of reversed. Where he has been training Midoriya physically and more mentally. Well, not really mentally, more like corrupting him more and more, changing his personality from liking heroes to despising them, to see them all like All Might. Until the end of those months for the training, until Scorch says this to Midoriya: I think you can inherit my power. And Midoriya's like, what? Really? Master Scorch? And Scorch is happy that he's agreeing to it. His mind games has worked to corrupt. So, he tells Izuku it's nothing gross like All Might's quirk, how it's transferred. It's good and simple. And he just puts his hand over Izuku's head. And Izuku starts feeling it. He's feeling Scorch's power. He's feeling it, and it's a lot. And until he passes out, he wakes up moments later alone in the junkyard, and he thinks, did Scorch ditch him? And Scorch in his head says, no, I'm still here. I'm just in your head and body now. I won't be taking control, but I will be here if you need me. And if you need any advice, my pupil. So, Midoriya, after a few months, have left his home and chose to live at the junkyard and, the facility where they take apart stuff that needs to be taken apart. He chose to live there. In that area, he literally took all his stuff, but got rid of all the All Might stuff, and just had his normal bed and everything, normal clothes, and closet there. Literally moved everything. Until Scorch gave him an idea. Why not build some machines that can do what you do, where you analyze heroes and know everything about their quirk? So, Midoriya also had his notebooks, and Scorch told him, hey, Midoriya, you can make this machine that will refine all these materials back into their perfection states. Not take them apart though, but add stuff to them as well. So, Midoriya builds the machine pretty quickly too. And Scorch starts telling him to start building some machines. And the machine is refining a lot of the material, so it's making it a little more stronger, so then low-level heroes won't be able to destroy it easily. But it's still pretty weak, where if, for example, if Eraserhead, which I think is a top hero in my opinion, would fight one of these, he would probably win, even if he doesn't have a strength quirk like All Might or Endeavor. Or Endeavor can burn them. But anyway, Midoriya, after doing his thing, made a computer too, so he can do research without having to use his notebooks and write them down. And he downloaded almost all data that his notebooks had into the machines. So for the heroes that he already knows, well, they already have ways to defeat those heroes. Probably not people like All Might or Endeavor or Hawks in some regards, but pretty decent heroes. That's all I can really say. But during his research fits or whatever, Midoriya gets an email from a group called the League of Villains asking him if he wants to join them. And he doesn't. He doesn't join them, but he makes a deal with them. I'll send 3 of my machines to help you attack UA, but in return, you allow me to use this opportunity as a testing ground for them anyway. So, you get pretty strong machines, I get a testing time. And the League agrees to this because, hey, at least they can have something to help the Nomu or to deal with more of the students without having so many thugs. So, the day the USJ attack happens, I am skipping to it so we can get some good insight on that. So, when it happens, Midoriya has to deal with some people. Well, his machines, Midoriya is just watching. So, after his machines are fighting, when the Nomu came out, and the machines have hurt some hero students, but they didn't kill them because Deku, well, a little bit of the original Deku is still there in this new Deku's mind, somewhat holding him a little bit back. Believe me, the students are not in good condition, the ones at least these machines fought. They're bloody and bruised, looking like if they got hit by a truck, practically. But when the machines see Kosuke Bakugo and, well, Azumi, Zuko gets mad. Gets filled with anger and rage. But he doesn't let it control him. Because K, or, Scourge, mainly, said to control his own anger. Even if you see the people you despise, you still need to have your anger under control. So, the machines are fighting them because they got just back when All Might showed up and the Nomu came out and they were fighting hard, and Deku doesn't like All Might, despises him, wants him dead. But the machines had to fight the other students so they couldn't help All Might defeat the Nomu. But one of the machine's head got blown up while the other's arm got frozen and broken off. Well, the other two figured out that their quirk, well, they already knew about Bakugo and Azumi's, but they just figured out what Todoroki's were. It's half cold, half hot. And the reason why one of the machines got destroyed by Bakugo, he kind of caught it off guard. Sending with Todoroki with the second. So the third is destroyed. Well, they got 2 more left. And Azumi crushes the second's head, destroying it. While Denki Kaminari runs by and electrocutes the first one, and it falls back, deactivated. The heroes finally arrived and defeated Nomu, everything. Shigaraki still escapes, sending with Kirigiri. So, after Yue captured all the villain, Azumi's point of view, she has been really thinking about these machines since they sounded so familiar. Brother, after he didn't return home and ran away. Her father didn't really care, but she somewhat did. She did look for him, even asked All Might to ask his detective friend to look for him. But they didn't find anything. Nothing about Izuku Midoriya. Nothing about Izuku Midoriya. They found nothing. So, hearing these robots sound similar to her brother, she kind of hesitated to destroy that one, but she had to. If not, it would have killed, like, Todoroki or Bakugo, and that's what she was thinking. Because these things really adapt quickly. So, Nezu, well, after, Azumi's point of view, Nezu, trying to look into these robots, noticed that all data was deleted from them. So they're no use. So, it's decided that they're scrap metal, and they were about to throw them away until, Mei Hasame saw them and said, "Oh, what are you doing with those beautiful machines?" And they say they're just throwing them out, and these are teachers that don't really care, but they give it to her anyway. These robots pieces, at least, and the full intact one that was just electrocuted and deactivated, which they don't know that. Ironic irony. After she's trying to take apart one that was already broken, the first one reactivates with new directives. Looks around UA, sees Mei Hasame's gear, and it uses it to repair the second one's head. Even though its arm was gone, it fixed its head and made a new head, practically. And when it saw Mei, it tied her up very quickly, before she could even mess with the third one. Because she almost was about to take it off, but it welded it back on more. And it repaired the third one as well. Well, somewhat. It just fixed its head, so lightly damaged. And Deku's using the robots to look around, and he asks Scorch, "What do you think? Should I take this girl?" And Scorch says, "Yes, Izuku, do it. She could be useful into upgrading your machines for you and making more of them. And besides, you have my power now. You can corrupt her as much as you want, and she'll listen to you if you want to. You can do that, right?" And Midoriya's like, "Yes. Yes, I can. I can do that. I can use her. Like how these heroes weren't treating her properly." So, after they use Mei's stuff to upgrade the other machines, the first machine picks her up, while the other two prepare to defend. So the third runs out and creates chaos, while the second just protects as much as possible. And Nezu is seeing them running out, with the first following behind the second, trying to get out of UA, while the third one is creating chaos. While some of the teachers are dealing with the one creating chaos, since it's using most of Mei's gear, it's actually doing a lot more damage than Izuku expected. So, after Mei, was halfway out of UA, and she was screaming, by the way. She's screaming for help, and the second one was defeating students and heroes. Nezu told All Might to try to save her, Mei Hasame. And All Might tried, and the second one stayed behind to distract All Might as long as possible. But the first escaped with her and was able to do what it needed to do. And Nezuko's like, yes, I have my inventor now. She can make beautiful machines to help me take down this society and get rid of these corrupt, fake heroes. Well, that is all I'm going to leave off now. Thank you for watching, and make sure to like and subscribe. I know this is very, very, very long, but remember, I put a lot of effort in these videos, so yeah, if it's long, I'm sorry, but whatever. Goodbye.